Hello, everyone. I have the honor and pleasure to host American banker based in Shanghai and also the author of the book, Cashless Society, Digital Yuan, Richard Turrin. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Radek, and hello, everyone out there. It's such a pleasure to be here, and it's wonderful to see my book translated to Polish.
Great. It's a great pleasure. And you're based in Shanghai right now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I've lived in Shanghai for 12 years.
Yes, and what about lockdowns right now in Shanghai? How do you feel about that? Because yesterday we read the news about lockdowns in Shanghai. How do you feel about that?
Sure, very briefly, it's not such a big deal. We're all fine. Shanghai has 25 million people, and of the 25 million, we have around 2,400 cases of people who have COVID without any symptom, and about 250 cases of people with symptoms. So it's a very small part of the population, but China has zero COVID policy, and I'm happy to stay home for a couple of days if my staying home helps others not to get sick. So it's a small price to pay. And frankly, most of us, it's not hard for most people. Although, yes, it's been in the news and it's a big deal.
Okay, Richard. So let's talk about your book, Cashless Society, Digital Yuan. It seems that you are rather enthusiast, an advocate of digital currencies. There are many people in Western civilization, I would say, quite skeptical about this. What kind of advantages do you see in adopting digital currencies?
Sure. It's a great question. So look, let's make it clear. I've lived in China for 12 years, and I lived in a China before WeChat and Alipay, the two payment systems we have that made China go cashless. All right. So I lived here before and I lived here after. And the answer is for everyone out there, a cashless lifestyle is beautiful. It's wonderful to be able to pay someone immediately and to have your money be easy to send and free to receive. And that's what China has now. And it's going to get even more of this with the new launch of the central bank digital currency. So what's the good and what's the bad? First, I want to tell everyone, there is no need to be afraid of this. This is not the government coming in and controlling all of your money. In fact, most of us in China will have better privacy and better anonymity over payment than we do currently when we use WeChat Pay and Alipay. And you ready for it? We will have more privacy and anonymity than using credit cards in the West. And we'll talk about that in a second, but it's good. It's a good thing. And frankly, it's a great world that all of us can look forward to.
Okay, so you would say that digital currency means more privacy than traditional credit cards and traditional payments. How is that so?
How is that possible, right? It's
Yes.
very simple. Right? Now let's think about it for a second. Every time that I use a credit card in Poland, anywhere in the EU, anywhere in the United States, all right? So, every time I use a credit card, the place where I use the credit card, they have my information. That institution, their bank has that information. That's two. My bank knows what I paid and where I don't pay. That's three. Visa or MasterCard, they know what I did. That's what I'm up to. I think I'm up to four. And then the person, the company that uses the credit card machine, they know what's happened. That's 5. So generally we look at about anywhere between 6 and 8 different companies all know when I buy a coffee, when I go to the coffee shop and I use my card. And that's the reality of payment today. So now when I use a central bank digital currency in China right now to buy coffee from my coffee shop, the coffee shop knows and I know. And I have the ability to make it so that that payment is anonymous, so that the coffee shop doesn't know who I am. So frankly, for a lot of small payments, we have much better privacy with central bank digital currency than we do even with credit cards as they are currently used in the West. And I know that surprises people because people are thinking, oh, central bank digital currency, the government spies on you. And that's not always the case.
Okay, but the government, the central bank, they know when you pay and how much you pay and where and all the other details. Isn't it like that?
No. So here's the answer. It's exactly like the system that we have with credit cards today. If the government wants to know what you did with your credit card, in most countries, the government, the police or the security people, or the tax people, because tax people want to know what you do with your credit card, they have to go to the legal system and get what we call a warrant, meaning a legal document that says we have the right to go to the credit card company and ask them, show us what Richard did with his credit card last year, right? That's the system that most countries use. Digital currency is the same. The government in China does not have a list with everybody's name and everybody's cash payments. What they have is they do know the payments that are made, but they cannot attach them to a name. In order for the tax or police in China to put the names together with the charges, they need to get a warrant and they need to go through the legal system to connect the two. And these two pieces of information are held in different places. They're not all on the same computer system. In fact, they're very separate. So, the concept that the government is going to have a list of name and charges for everyone in the nation is simply wrong. It's just not what China built. It's not what the EU is going to build. And it's not what the digital dollar in the US or the digital pound is going to look like. But there are people who want you to be afraid. It's really, it's reality versus what people on the internet are saying who don't understand what is being built. And they want to make people afraid. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
Okay, let's not talk about the fears, but let's talk about the advantages. Like you've been observing adopting digital currency in China and transformation to cashless society. What advantages do you see from the perspective of China, and what advantages does it gives to China on a global stage? I mean, adopting digital yuan. How would you respond to this kind of question?
Sure. Let's take it. Let me paint a picture first for domestic use, and then we'll go to international. Okay. So I want everybody out there to know the most important thing. There is a future that we're looking at where, Roddick, I can take my phone out, pay you, right? Exactly. We can get our phones out, and I can use, and I'm going to show this because it's easy. I can show a QR code. There's my book, right? In English. But my book is a little different.
Yeah,
The English version of the book.
I don't have it on the cover of my book. Richard.
Right. That's okay. But the English version has what's called a QR code on the cover. And I can send you 100 whatever zloty, right? And I can send them to you immediately, person to person transfer, zero cost, and it arrives immediately. There's no credit card, there's no bank, there's no other institution that's between me and you.
So it's not good for the infrastructure, the banking infrastructure, right? Because it's not needed.
Sure. Oh, God, that's erotic. Who do you think hates central bank digital currency more than anyone? The banks?
It's not central bank, definitely. Central bank, I think, like it very much, but...
Central bank, it depends on which central bank, but the commercial banks and the credit card companies hate this. Look, people have to...
So they don't need it anymore, right? So you find
exactly.
it advantage, Richard. You find it advantage.
Yeah, well, that's a bit... Now, I have to make sure that people understand this, because many people do not understand that when they buy a coffee, they go to the store and they buy a coffee, added on to the price of the coffee is the fact that the person who sells you the coffee has a fee that they have to pay the credit card company. In some places in the United States, it can be anywhere. In Europe, it's a little lower, but anywhere between 1% and 6%. So every time that you pay for something, there is a tax. They're already added on to the price of that object, because the store assumes you're going to use a credit card, and they don't want to lose 1 or 2%. Or 3, or whatever that number is. So, yeah, it's a big deal. And what central bank digital currency is saying is that money should be free and immediate to use, and we should not have to pay someone in between.
Okay, Richard. So this is exactly what you're writing in the book, which is very interesting. I have read it very carefully. And okay, so this is cheaper. This is more comfortable. But how does it make a difference on the global stage? Because some people are skeptical about that. They may say that China is a separated island. Okay, China is China, but what kind of difference it makes globally?
Sure. And look, that is what everybody is asking right now because of the world we live in, with sanctions, with a war. So the use for central bank digital currency for China will start obviously domestically. But eventually, China is going to take the digital yuan and they are going to use it for trade, meaning that countries that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative in Africa or in Asia, the friends of China will eventually start to buy things from China, and they will use the digital yuan. And that's a big change. Let me explain. Many countries, especially smaller countries, when they want to buy things from China, they must take their local currency, convert that to dollars, send the dollars to China, and then change the dollars back into RMB or yuan to buy something. And what we're looking at is a future where countries will be able to transact directly from their native currency into digital yuan, and that money will arrive almost immediately. You can change the money to digital yuan in 1 minute and buy a container full of things in 1 minute later.
Okay, Richard.
So it's a breakthrough.
It's a breakthrough because we all do buy things in China. We all do buy things from China. So you think that the internationalization of RMB, Chinese yuan, is not needed because there's a digital yuan right now, and slowly, step by step, it will become more and more popular in countries, and there's no need. There's the kind of possibility to skip the stage of internationalization RMB, traditional currency, to adopt directly digital yuan. How do you think?
That's perfect. And the most important thing that you said, and I loved it, you really read my book beautifully, is that this is going to happen very slowly. And now let me explain why. The first thing is that this is a central bank digital currency, meaning that China must make arrangements with the other country's central bank. This is not Bitcoin. It's not that you put the digital currency out there and anyone can use it. China will make an arrangement, and let's use another country. I'm going to pick the country Kenya, just because it's easy. It's in Africa. So China's central bank says, hey, Kenya, do you want to use it? They say yes. They put special systems in. So they will have to go country by country to expand the use. So don't look for adoption of the digital yuan to be fast. We're looking at a 10-year project, very, very slow. Now, the next thing you said, and it's true, China, many people are thinking, well, we don't like the digital yuan because it's not freely convertible. China has what we call currency controls. Now, the digital yuan is different because with the regular yuan, China controls it because it doesn't want it going offshore and being used for uses that it doesn't want. Now, we have something new. We have a digital currency, and instead of currency control, we have a controllable currency. So China is able to increase the use of the digital yuan because it knows where it's going. It says, hey, we know that this digital yuan is buying a container of refrigerators from us, and we know that we paid that to buy oil or to buy some natural resource from that country. So they can manage where it's going and have better understanding of how their currency exchanges. So it's a new world. It's very different than the traditional world that we lived in.
Okay, so there's another advantage that's more manageable, I would say. And okay, as we're talking about the Polish edition of your book, in Poland right now we're very much concerned about the situation in Ukraine, the Ukraine-Russia war, and we observe the sanctions being imposed on Russia. And do you think that that forced sanctions, actually, which were unsuccessfully adopted, the exclusion of Russia from SWIFT payment system, it seems that it was not 100% successful, I would say, because it's still possible. But do you think that it will speed up the adoption of digital yuan, that Russia may turn to China and adopt this digital currency, as there are so many sanctions being imposed on, at least attempts on imposing sanctions on Russia right now?
Radek, that's a wonderful question, and everybody wants to know this. Let me be 100% clear. The Chinese digital yuan will not be used for evading sanctions by Russia because it is simply too new. It is not in domestic distribution. It's only in limited cities in trial. So it doesn't exist as an international transfer currency today, and it only exists in 12 cities within China. So it's too new.
Right, but possibly in the future. Yeah,
now,
possibly in the future.
if we look toward the future, if we go out, and this is a good question because Russia just announced this week that the digital ruble would be out and ready for use by December of this year. And that will be for personal payments. So can we look maybe 18 months, from now, or 2 years, will suddenly Russia and the digital ruble start trading with the digital yuan? And the answer is maybe, but still unlikely. And let me explain why. China is very concerned about the bad publicity and the bad reputation that the digital yuan would get if it becomes labeled a sanction-busting currency. Let me explain. China has a brand new baby. It's brand new. They want the whole world to look at the digital yuan and say, hey, this brings us certain advantages. We want to potentially look at using this, and they will make a determination, yes or no. If, when it's brand new, China uses it to evade or bust sanctions with Russia, other countries are going to look at the digital yuan and say, we don't want to use it. That will defeat the purpose of China launching the digital yuan. So I think that it's highly unlikely. I could be wrong, but I don't think so, because China is looking at the digital yuan as a way for the world to use the yuan. And there's too much at risk to make it dirty or to make it too controversial.
Okay, that's understood. That's understood. Yeah, definitely, it's highly unlikely. Okay. Another question from the domestic perspective of China, because in Poland we also use digital payments. We have special applications for that, like WeChat Pay or Alipay. We do have the local ones. So Poland is a little bit different from other Western societies, I would say, because we often use these digital payments. But could you please, how do you think, why there was this need for establishing the digital currency? Because China was cashless society even before e-yuan. So what was the purpose? What was the need for establishing central bank digital currency? Because we also have the possibility of digital payment in Poland. So why would we need this kind of currency instead of fintechs and digital payments?
Sure, that's a wonderful question, and the answer is very simple. To take digital payment from a low adoption to a very high adoption. Now, let me speak, that's for Europe, Poland, right? You have a relatively low adoption of digital payment. There is some, but you can get more. Now let's look at China, where adoption of digital payment is already high. In China, we have WeChat Pay and Alipay, and they're excellent. They're great, and they made China go cashless. But as I like to say, China's digital yuan is going to take digital payment into new places and take it in places that WeChat Pay and Alipay were never designed to go. Let me give you a great example. Recently, there have been a number of high-profile tests where the digital yuan is being used in business payments, some of them over $100,000. So when we think of WeChat Pay and Alipay, we think about a maximum of in dollars or euro of maybe 2,000. That's, for most personal accounts or business accounts, it's small amounts of money. But now we have large companies testing, actually paying their employees their salary in digital yuan. So large amounts of money to take digital payments to new places, places where WeChat and Alipay were simply never designed to go and to be used for. And that's what's going to happen in Poland too. We think about, here's the funny thing, and this is a real problem. And it really is, because when people think about central bank digital currency, the first problem is they think, oh, the government is spying on me, yes. Which we can talk more about.
That's what the majority of people think in Poland. That's why we started from this question.
Right, and so, and I can talk more about it, but it's not true. But the second thing they think is, well, I have Visa, MasterCard, whatever. I can buy a cup of coffee with any of them. And that's also true. But there's a crisis of imagination. You have to think about payment being used for so much more than just buying a cup of coffee. We're looking at a world with 5G digital coverage. We're looking at something called IoT, Internet of Things. We're looking at a world where you aren't doing the payment, but a machine is going to pay. That's where we're going to be in 10 years' time. So I ask people to think, if you drive your car up to the gas station and it has 5G inside the car and it pays for your gasoline or pays for your electric, right? You don't want Visa or MasterCard to take 1 or 2% on your bill. You want that free, you want that immediate. And it's these kinds of new use cases that people aren't even thinking of right now. That's where digital currency is going to take us. It's going to take us 10, 20 years into the future.
Okay, Richard, just to conclude, the last questions. From the perspective of your book, it seems that the Western societies and Western central banks are sleeping. So what would you say, what is going to happen if the Western societies and Western central banks do not adopt digital currencies quickly? What is going to happen, in your opinion?
I have a wonderful map, and it shows the countries that are near adopting a central bank digital currency. And if you look at the map,
could you please send this
I
map?
I can actually do better, Radek. I can actually show the map right now to everybody, and it's not a problem. I'm going to click on a few buttons here. Here it is, right here, and I'm going to make, by magic, I'm going to make me get small, and I'm going to make the map get big. But the important part of this map is look at the pink zone. The zone in pink, which now the map needs to be updated. Russia needs to be in pink. But if you look, the countries that are nearing adoption of central bank digital currency are all in Asia. Asia is years ahead of the West. And what we are going to see in our future within the next 5 years is that central bank digital currency will be used within Asia to buy things and for trade, not just for buying coffee. So when you look at China, every time that China makes an iPhone and sells it to the United States, the screens for the iPhone come from Korea. Other parts come from Vietnam. It's all of Asia works together to produce many products. So a lot of that trade someday will move to central bank digital currency. And we have to really watch for Asia as the powerhouse. And all of this will lead to lower or lesser use of the US dollar in this trade zone. And that's
okay.
Scary.
The future is Asian. The future is Asian, said American banker based in Shanghai, Richard Turrin, the author of the Cashless Society Digital Yuan, which was just translated to Polish. We've been talking about the Polish edition of this book. Thank you very much, Richard, for a wonderful conversation.
Radek, thank you so much. Everyone out there, please check out my book in Polish. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I write about this all the time. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Radek.
That was a pleasure to talk to you, Richard.